start us off this morning by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Jibuktuk, or Halifax, which is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered in the Treaties of Peace and Friendship, which were the Mi'kmaq people first signed with the British Crown in 1725, exactly 300 years ago. So the treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. As I started to think about and research what to include in this land acknowledgement, I learned that November is actually Indigenous Disability Awareness Month. I don't know how many people in the room knew that. This year marks the 11th anniversary of this important observance, which was started by the British Columbia Aboriginal Network on Disability Society. And this occurrence is aimed at raising awareness about and celebrating the significant social, economic, and cultural contributions that Indigenous people experiencing disability bring to our communities. It's also an opportunity to mobilize to address the complex, ongoing, intersectional challenges that Indigenous people face in their everyday lives. Indigenous people who experience disability often face additional barriers and discrimination when seeking support for their disability-related needs. Statistics show that Indigenous people experience higher rates of disability than the general population in Canada, as much as double, actually. There are many reasons for this, but a legacy of colonialism and the unequal access to holistic healthcare that many Indigenous people face is undeniably a major contributing factor. I came across an interesting article by the First Nations Health Authority, which explains that even the term disability is a colonial construct, implying that someone cannot do something. That definition is very different to how many Indigenous cultures view people with disabilities. Many Indigenous languages don't even have a word that translates as disability. Rather than viewing disabilities in terms of what a person cannot do, many Indigenous people, families, and communities focus instead on the person's strengths, their gifts, and the positive contributions that they make. So not just this month, but throughout the whole year, we strive to recognize and celebrate the leadership, strength, and resilience of Indigenous people with disabilities, and also to reflect on how we can be effective allies and continue to advance disability justice and reconciliation together. So I'd like to encourage all of us here today, both in the room and online, to prioritize learning a little bit more about disability from Indigenous perspectives and from Indigenous-led organizations. Some great resources include the Assembly of First Nations, particularly their shadow report to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, Indigenous Disability Canada, which provides disability support programs for Indigenous people across the country, the First Nations Health Authority, and here in Nova Scotia, Tjatjekimuk, which is a health and wellness organization that unifies the 13 Mi'kmaq communities in the province and supports development and delivery of holistic health programs. And finally, here in Jibuktuk, the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, which hosts the Whadjuk Health Center, which in addition to providing culturally sensitive primary care, develops education materials for those providing services for Indigenous people. So all the resources that I've just mentioned and organizations, we have a list of those and more out at the registration table. So if you're interested in learning a bit more, you can pick up one of those. And for anybody joining us online, we're going to pop those resources into the chat so you also have access. So yeah, we would really just like to encourage people to find out a bit more about Indigenous perspectives on disability and to take meaningful steps that we can all take towards greater inclusion. Okay, now I'd like to, and I'm very excited to introduce Francine Gillis. Francine is a lifelong writer from Port Hood, Cape Breton. Over more than 5 decades, Francine has crafted stories across genre, drawing inspiration from personal loss and resilience. A passionate educator and community advocate, she taught high school English for 25 years while writing a weekly human interest column and sharing her advocacy through her book, A Rose in November. After a traumatic brain injury in 2016 ended her teaching career, Francine turned to memoir writing, sharing her journey in Where Did I Go?, a powerful account of recovery, invisible injuries, and hope. Please join me in welcoming Francine.
Thank you, Emma. Just before I start, um, I don't know, this is the first time I'm speaking in front of a crowd in 10 years, upwards of 10 years, and I'm extremely nervous. I try to be funny. I don't know if I'm funny, but if I am, you can laugh. And you do not have to take any notes because I believe my presentation is all on Zoom because you need to have a purpose after something serious happens to you to get through it. And so I'm going to start with a video essay, and I'm just going to let you watch. Okay? Thank you. No lie. Okay, so this is probably not for me as well as you, but excuse me for the rain. It has a way of relaxing you, which is usually an issue because of a heightened nervous system after an injury. All right, so I fell going into my school in 2016 on black ice, and I went straight back. I discovered I didn't know who I was, but the path I traveled started there. And as Emma mentioned, I lost my career of teaching. I thought I was going to be back teaching within a couple of days. May we support the healing and well-being of all those affected by brain injury. And so one of the very first things I want to do is to tell you it's not easy. No 2 days are the same. I could be okay today and I'll probably crash tomorrow. The brain is unpredictable. We need to validate invisible struggle because I'll make a bet that every single one of you have an invisible struggle, whether it's a head injury or something else. So when I was first injured, I lost who I was. I was someone who put all of my heart and my time and my passion into teaching. After I fell, I couldn't function in my house. And so I was frustrated. I was swaying on a boat all the time and nobody knew to help me. If you had or have a brain injury, can you raise your hand? I want to validate you. You are not alone. This room is here to support you, and there's more than we know. If you're a family member or caregiver, can you raise your hand, please? I want to validate you because it's not an easy road and there's a lot of challenges. Thank you for caring. If you are a medical practitioner, a nurse, a doctor, a therapist, I'm seeing one or two, we need more of you. Thank you for caring. And lastly, anyone else who came into the room, even if it was by mistake, a professional, thank you all for showing up. I really, really appreciate it. This was me in the beginning. I didn't want to breathe. That sounds kind of weird. But I was told I was breathing incorrectly. I was not breathing right. Every therapist preached it, and I thought it was silly. Come off it. And then I realized that a deep breath in and a deep breath out calms the central nervous system, which is highly heightened in anyone who's injured. And it really does work. So I want to tell you that this book is from a patient perspective. I am not an expert, but I learn from my struggles, experiences, and obstacles. The teacher in me, the educator, consultant came out, and I was like, I don't know any of this. And if I don't know it, are there other people who don't know? And I had done investigative stories in my early career and columns, and I'm like, there's something wrong here. And I discovered that we need empathy, public education, and awareness. So what do Canadians know about concussions? 1 in 2 have little or no knowledge. 1 in 4 do not know how concussion is treated. 15% can identify the best ways to treat it. And 4 in 10 know how to find information. And that I got from the government's website in 2025, based on a study that was done a couple of years earlier. 97% think it's serious, but that they're not doing anything. So 160,000 Canadians get a brain injury each year, 465 by the end of today, and 1 person will be injured every 3 minutes. And 15 to 30 of us will experience what is called post-concussion syndrome, or persistent post-concussion syndrome, which is me. So in the beginning, I absolutely didn't know where to go. And I discovered that no 2 concussions are the same, no 2 brain injuries. And so these are the various people that we will be referred to. Over the 8 to 10 years, I went to all of these. My occupational therapist was my first contact. She was wonderful, but I was not ready to go back to work. So that's usually when you're really trying to get back to work. My optometrist, Dr. Mandelman, Toby Mandelman here in Bedford, Halifax, she was excellent. I didn't know I had problems with my eyes. 80% of people with a stroke or brain injury have problems with their eyes. Knowing where and how to get immediate help is the first line of defense in improving chances of a complete recovery. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to get help. Had I received that help immediately, my recovery may have been faster and more complete. Although we discovered that I was compounded by PTSD, trauma in my life, and other variables. There's a window of vulnerability, a critical period between 1 injury and a second. If you get a concussion on top of a concussion, more severe damage. Second impact syndrome, I discovered this in 2017-18. Rowan Stringer was a young 17-year-old rugby player from Ottawa. She hit her head in a tournament, told a friend nobody else wanted to play again, typical of young people, and she got injured and she died. That profoundly hit me because my heart is for young people. And so her parents, Gordon and Kathleen Stringer, are advocates for Rowan's Law. Over the years, I learned concussion is a brain injury. Don't listen to those out there who will tell you there's no such thing. No 2 injuries are the same because no 2 brains are the same. We develop and train different things. Think of an artist, a musician, an athlete. We have various intelligences. We live with different people. We have different experiences. It makes sense that no 2 are the same. And healing and recovery take time, not our time, the brain's time. So this is new vocabulary. These are all defined in the book. CLF is the Canadian Legacy Foundation. It only took me 1 solid year to realize that wasn't CFL, the Canadian Football League. And so I roared out laughing a year later in my living room. Oh my, no wonder it kept coming up when I was searching concussion. So that's brain fog. How many felt concussion was not taken seriously by a healthcare provider? Could I have a show of hands, please? Oh, that's kind of encouraging. How many received little or no information about symptoms or recovery at the time of diagnosis, if diagnosed? Because not everybody are correctly diagnosed. According to the Ontario Brain Injury Association 2023, a study with Ontarians, 60% were not taken seriously, and a whopping 89% received little or no information about symptoms of recovery at the time of diagnosis. No wonder we feel like we're in the dark and that we're alone, but I am discovering that information is out there. It's a matter of getting it into the public. So as an injured person, you need to learn to self-advocate, ask questions, find quotations, songs, something that's going to help you get through the rough times. Keep notes where we easily forget. Keep a journal so you can measure your progress, because you may not be seeing it, but you are doing better. You have to find people to talk to. I knew of 2 people in my community who had concussions. It was very helpful to hear what they had to say. Finding and inspirational stories is what got me through. I think it was my past in writing in the book that I had done in 1994, because those stories are remarkable. So they kept me going. So I decided this helped me to put 7 triumphant, remarkable stories in the book to balance not a 58-year-old woman, but others. The book has stories dealing with life, death, spinal issues, and concussion. A stroke victim's triumph, she was only in her 30s. Grief, paralysis, success, and growth. A missed NHL dream turned around. I had to get something in there for young people. Post-concussion syndrome and a successful business. The lady that runs Galloping Cows, look that one up. It's Preserves. She is fighting, and now, unfortunately, she's fighting cancer on top of that. Why share? To increase the likelihood of your seeing yourself, feeling to your core, making a deep connection, and realizing you're not alone. You too can rise above with support. Now, this is my favorite expert in all of my travels. He knows his stuff. Dr. Charles Tatter, Executive Director, Canadian Concussion Centre in Toronto. He's a neurosurgeon. He's been involved in concussions for decades, and he is good. Now, I'm going to ask, these words are used synonymously. Mild traumatic brain injury, how many would prefer to refer it like that? Or concussion? And some are undecided, which is why Dr. Tatter was asking people. I feel people will take it more seriously if you say mild traumatic brain injury, but he's also said there's nothing mild about it if you're suffering from it years later. So this is extremely important. Concussion is a functional disturbance rather than a structural injury, which is why it doesn't show up on a CAT scan or MRI. It's caused by sudden jiggling of the brain. You do not have to sustain a direct hit. If you are shaken in a car or somebody was in a domestic situation, you can get a concussion. And you can read down there, rapid movement can cause biochemical changes, and then that's where the symptoms come. I'm not the blue balloon. I have so much energy. I'm the little yellow one down on the bottom, and that is my typical day still. I have to adapt and pace. A concussion, he says, can have devastating results. Pain function is affected by the interruption of signals in brain fluid, neurons, synapses, and pathways. Before concussion, the signal comes in and it goes straight through. I had Santa Claus, he's coming. And then after it is the signal, it has to find pathways. And because there's damage in there, it takes a very long time to get the message through. So we process much more slowly. So people have to have patience with us. You get it right away if you're fine. You don't.
We teach in medical schools and what we teach in nursing school and in OT school, etc. concussion is now an area of healthcare that virtually all clinicians should know something about. And the other thing that we have learned, and I showed you already, about the multidisciplinary nature of it. So we need a team of people who are trained and in order to deliver the best care we can.
If it's a GP you go to, ask for specialties. It makes a world of difference. And so if you can't afford to go, those blocks in red are organizations I discovered that can have PDFs for you, that can have support groups for you, that can have videos for you. And there is a wonderful way of working together to help you. I had a speech pathologist. Not all medical practitioners are created equal. I have interviewed people who have some really sad stories of being sent home and getting worse or whatever. Find ones with training and expertise in brain injuries. Most will treat you for a concussion, but they may not necessarily have the latest information. The wheel below is a collection of everyone who worked with me. So I kept asking my doctor, when will I heal? See, that's his face. Unfortunately, there's no magic pill, he said. So I decided to make it funny and put Jennifer in there and say, okay, yeah. And then I decided, you know what? This topic's too serious. I need to lighten this book. And so I made cartoons. That is my speech pathologist telling me to go ba, ba. And so I was doing syllables and I felt so absolutely stupid. She told me to do slow, robotic, easy onset. You could, that's sort of kind of how I was for 2 years. Couldn't say this word for 4, neuroplasticity. This is the brain can form new pathways, retrain itself, and how it functions through practice, practice, practice. And it works. You don't have to have a head injury. You might want to learn how to play the guitar or be an athlete or an artist. The more you practice, the brain can create pathways, and there's hope in that. So I had a light bulb moment. I have them once in a while in 2020. Alexa. I could start talking to her, and if I used proper language, she'd hear me, and if I didn't, she wouldn't. So I said, Alexa, can you get concussion stats for youth in Canada? She heard, can you get coronavirus from a fart in Canada? And the funniest part was she had an answer. So I began a love-hate relationship of practicing minute, hour, day, week, and now I can speak. My battles, I also learned in the last couple of months, are not as bad as those with brain injuries who are alone, have no family, work, or financial support, have no means of travel, high rent or mortgage, no savings, can't pay for therapies needed, who might have children to look after, insurance battles, debt, addiction, and more. I was one of the lucky ones. And so I want us to remember these people who feel so alone. How can we help? Communication is number one. Clearly, timely, really listen, speak slowly, and allow processing time. When speaking to someone, acknowledge that they're talking, clarify the message for them, validate what they're saying and their feelings, and show appreciation for the effort. And that's applicable when you're talking to anyone with good communication skills. Try not to put blame, shame, judgment, or analysis in what you say. We are extremely fragile human beings. Hurtful versus helpful. What is wrong with you? Instead, let's talk about why you're feeling off. Relax, you're too high strung. Relax, relax, relax. Ooh, let's distress together. There's people worse off than you. It can be frustratingly hard. You're too sensitive. Show me how to be empathetic. I wish you would. Is there any way I can? You should be. Better by now. Progress can be slow. I understand. I told you that. Forgetting must be hard for you. Don't you remember? How about I cue you? My husband has to cue me all the time. What about my feelings? Let's talk about how we feel. Why are you so emotional? It's okay to not be okay. Best leave you alone. No, I want you to say you want to spend time with me. I'm so stupid. Don't say that about the person I love or care about. You'll never be the same. I still love and care for you. We feel worthless. Help us feel viable again. No matter our challenges, knowing others have journeyed and made it through warms the heart, as does the willingness of people to share. Empathy speaks to the heart, to that from which we should see. Look at all the organizations that can work together. I didn't know any of these existed for probably 4 to 5 years. So what I've done is I've put everything in one book that can help people who did not know where to go, so that you can look up these various or have someone look up for you and get the help. To help ourselves, we must reach out. We must reconcile with what happened to us, and we must accept it. At one point, I called the book Acceptance, and I threw it out because I hadn't accepted. Recovery is untimely, ultimately ours to own. Don't be a shadow. Very easy to want to stay in bed. Socialize. Find something or someone to hang on to. I had my faith, thank goodness, and my grandbabies, nature, and writing. You find what makes you tick, and that makes you feel good about yourself. We all have different likes. That's great. Our expectations, I had expectations way above the ceiling. I had to lower mine. You have to live a day, an hour, or a minute at a time, because some days are harder than others. You have to kind of learn to live in the present. You have to work in steps or increments. You can't do it all at once anymore. My OT taught me to do it in steps, one day and then another. Gratitude, that's self-explanatory, and I talked too much prior. Danger comes in comparing before to after, yourself to others. Don't get sucked into the blame game. It can destroy your recovery and eat you alive. Feel it, but let it go. We must fight to be our authentic selves. When left naked by suffering, we can lose who we are. It becomes a battle to redefine ourselves, requiring courage, advocacy, and support. No one can do it alone. All right, this is my story. You might have to pause for a second. This will just show you what the public may be like at some time. It was during COVID. I had been shopping online to make myself feel better. My husband drove me everywhere for 6 years. We drove to Halifax to Bedford Eye Clinic, had my appointment, and he said, why don't you go into Dartmouth Crossing, go into a store and buy something for yourself and make yourself feel better? I thought, okay, that's a good idea. So I mustered up the courage, and I went into a ladies' store, and I went up to the lady, and I don't know how to do this, but I'll try it. Do you have sweater dresses? And the lady looked at me, and she said, we don't have sweater dresses. So I sunk into the floor, my face all red, my tears. I walked backwards out. I went into the car, and I was bawling and crying. And we lived 4 hours away. I cried the whole way home because I didn't know why that lady had done that. And to this day, that hurt to the core. So how we talk to people is extremely important. If we don't know or we're ignorant, sometimes the best thing is just to stay quiet. Kindness, basic compassion, that's what this is all about. And so that was a very hurtful moment. And we all have had them, I am sure. And I feel for you. Hold on to who you are inside. Do not let pain, injury, sickness, or other people negate or take that away from you. You have to put purpose into your suffering, because healing is ultimately up to us. Surround yourself with children and good people, because they help to build you up. So where did I go? A Memoir Plus was born, because as a teacher and a person, I had no idea where to go. And so when I finally discovered one person, I thought, oh, okay, I'll get better, I'll go to school. But it wasn't like that. And it unraveled as I asked questions. Who am I to write a book? I'm nobody. But I experienced, I lived it, and I went from knowing absolutely nothing to questioning, and over the years, I found what I needed. I did not know where to go. It's stories, 7 stories, education. I'm educating the public, expert advice because I got interviews, references of where to go. I put infographics in so people who can't read, we can't read at the beginning, will have something to look at. And I wanted everything in one place, and I meant to hold up the book, but I don't have it. The small I, it represents or is symbolic of me losing my identity. It's also symbolic of the people out there who feel like a small I. You don't feel good enough. That was a phrase used with me my entire life. I never felt good enough. I could be perfection. Nobody's perfect. Try reaching for that. But I felt I was never ever good enough. You have trauma in your past life, and I had it through my childhood. And when I was an adult, there were various things that you can be re-triggered. And so when you have a concussion or a head injury, one of the things we can have is we're triggered. So say, for example, there was someone in your life who, when they hollered, there was something bad came with it. So when you hear someone at that volume, suddenly you're triggered and you're... I did with David Campbell, and you can find that on my website. So what happens to us is not who we are. You struggle to come back. And so this is what was born, 366 pages of education and reference. You have to love yourself, which I'm still struggling with, through whatever your healing journey. And I know everyone in here has a healing journey. It's never too late to pick up the fragmented pieces and create a new mosaic, but we do need support. My mother told me to offer my suffering and physical pain for others. For anyone fighting life's battles, I offer them. And with my heart and soul, I do salute every single person in this room. More and Where Did I Go? Published by OC Publishing. And as I said, it's for family members, caretakers, medical practitioners. You need to give it to therapists, counselors, educators. I have a principal who said it should be in every school. So who has seen the wind? We have. There have been approximately 10 more brain injuries in Canada since I started talking to you. 465 by the end of the day, and it could be any one of us. So these are places where you can find me if you want more resources. My purpose renewed is to advocate for all of the injured, the caretakers, the practitioners, and do what Dr. Tatters says has to be done across Canada. And those are just references, and you can play, and I hope you enjoy, because I wanted you to actually enjoy some of this as well. That's Dr. Cudmore and my physiotherapist. And so I want to thank the Brain Injury Association of Nova Scotia, the people listed and the organizations listed there. And I want to thank all of you for showing up. I hope you got something out of my talk. And as I said, the book has tremendous resources. As a teacher, it should be in every school. I thought I knew about concussions. I did not. It should be given to clients and anybody who wants to know where to go. And thank you very much for listening to me. I think we have a couple of minutes for questions, if I dare. Did you want to say something? We have 3 minutes, she tells me. I try to time it so that I would stay under the time. Okay, the answer was yes. So I did get some humor in there. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, I come from Cape Breton. Port Hood, a lot of the pictures of the ocean is my Port Hood backyard. And I thank Pixabay for my going through video, trying to get a photo essay because I taught grade 12 students how to write photo essays, and I thought they're very valuable because images sometimes say more than words. So I am from Cape Breton in a community of Port Hood in a rural area. So for 4 months, I had my sisters, I put out a distress call and I said, somebody has to help me. I want to get back to school. I don't know what to do. So they went searching and they found an OT, and I was lucky that there was a clinic in Antigonish. Since that has closed, and so I don't even know if there is a concussion clinic in Cape Breton. There are a few, but we need more. We need to be advocates for helping people with invisible injuries. And thank you, sir, for that question. I don't have an accent. You should hear me talk really fast. That's because I had to teach myself to speak again, perhaps. Okay.
To ask if your book's on like an ebook version.
There is a possibility of an ebook coming. This only came out in June of this year. So we're looking at 2 possibilities. One is an ebook and one is an audio book. Because I still cannot, I can't read my own book really. I can on a screen when I put it bigger, but I think both would be most valuable if we can get the word out and see that people would like to have it in that form.
All right, definitely.
Yes.
Just if we need it, so I think you can in that for sure.
Oh, well, thank you very much. We'll try and see if we can check into that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Everything. And breathe. Right.
Thank you very much.
My question is, you're in Cape Breton.
Yes. You want me to move?
Um,
That would be a question for Emma, I think. I know when I looked and I tried to find support groups and stuff, it's a very, there's only, can I say there's only 2 people in the Brain Injury Association in Nova Scotia at this point in time? And we need to start asking for that. I don't think there are, but I don't want to be quoted.
But in there.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, I'm Martley
Mhm.
with we don't currently have any in-person programs in the Cape Breton area, but we do have a lot of programs that are accessible online via
Yes.
Zoom.
Yes.
We are working towards expanding our in-person programming, so keep an eye on our website, our social media for future updates on that. We are working towards it. But yeah, thank you all for your questions. We have time for
Okay.
maybe one more or
Okay.
Sorry, guys, we have to move on.
Okay, so thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be here for the day. And if you have any questions in particular in reference to either A Rose in November, which is on adversity and overcoming them, very inspirational. And we're selling that on sale today for $10. The other book we're selling is a lower price for $25, no tax. So, I mean, it might be a good time to pick it up for someone or someone you love. So thank you very much for listening to me. And Emma, it's all yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Francine, and thank you for all of your questions as well. Francine will be sticking around for the rest of the day, so if there are more questions, which I'm sure there are, please feel free to ask those. And for folks online too, I know you don't have an opportunity to share questions now, but feel free to put them in the chats. We'll collect them. There will be a survey at the end too where you can add questions and we'll get back to you. Again, I want to thank Francine. You did a terrific job, and I know you really brought a lot of transparency, truthfulness, power in your presentation. I know it's opened a lot of eyes in the room and has also, I think, related to a lot of people and how they've navigated a brain injury as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. Maybe a quick round of applause again. Now I'm very pleased to introduce Lynn Renton, an occupational therapist with over 30 years of experience in ABI care, working across a full range of services. As a coordinator for Nova Scotia Health Provincial ABI Network, Lynn is dedicated to increasing awareness and improving access to vital support for individuals living with ABI in Nova Scotia. Today, she'll be presenting Connecting the Dots, Creating a Network to Support Your Success. Please join me in welcoming Lynn.
Great, thanks so much for that wonderful introduction. How's my volume? You can hear me okay? All right. Get set up here. So I'm really honored to be here today and share with you some information and hopefully some practical information on creating a network to support success. This is just an overview of what I'm going to be sharing, and I bring my perspective as an occupational therapist, but also just as a brain injury healthcare provider working with folks from acute care right through to the community. And in my latest role, my role is really about educating and supporting Nova Scotia Health frontline healthcare workers on brain injury. I do in-services all the time and in advocating for improved services as well. So today I'm going to be talking about what is success, the value of a support network, the different types of support available, where you can go to find support, and how to connect. And when I started thinking about this talk, I asked myself, what is success? And so I turned to the dictionary. And the dictionary defines success as achieving a goal or a purpose. It's achieving results that were wanted or hoped for, and something that achieves good results. And I think you can see from that success is really subjective. It's unique to the person. It's what they think is a good outcome, what their wants, what their needs, what their goals are. And it's influenced by a whole host of different things, but it includes things like a person's values, their culture, their life experiences, and where they are on the journey of recovery. And I think often early on, folks envision success as fixing whatever impact the brain injury had. And I really invite you to expand the idea of success to include learning to live with brain injury and attain some sense of well-being and quality of life. And a support network can really be valuable in reaching those goals. It really boosts your resilience. No one service, no one person can meet all of the needs that we have. So you need a variety of connections and a variety of supports to meet all the different needs. Peer support, being in a room with people with similar experiences, is super valuable. And we hear time and again, especially because so much of the impact of brain injury is invisible, that this is where people feel most seen and heard and valued. Having a network is a place where you can learn, but also where you can share your knowledge and others learn from you. I've learned even today from Francine's talk, I learned some information today, and I've learned so much from working with my patients over the years. There's tips and strategies that I use in my everyday life and also that I've shared with other clients. It's also a place where you can both give and receive support. So it's very much a two-way street, and giving support, sharing knowledge is also a need that we have as human beings. And having a network is more sustainable. If you only have one support, if something happens to that support, you're kind of stuck. But if you have a network, people can fill in. And as well, and this is why I have this ball here, a network can change over time. Sometimes it's really tight and compact and you're in the middle and everyone's rallied around you. And other times it's more open like this, and you might be one of the dots over here. And there's maybe some core supports that you interact with daily or frequently. And then there's other things you can reach out across as needed. You can turn it around and it grows and changes over time. The other thing about a network is your role within the network can change over time, and it may be different with different pieces of the network. For some of those pieces, that's where you go to for support, but for another piece, you're a source of support or knowledge. That's my problem. And then what is support? And I think we automatically think of support as being the people closest to us, our family, our caregivers, our neighbors, maybe friends, but it's so much more than that. It's also services. It could be formal and informal services, paid and unpaid, medical and health services, doctors, nurses, therapists, but it can also be social services. It can be economic services, things like the disability tax credit or benefit or insurance funding. It can be cultural, spiritual. We heard Francine say that her faith was a really big source of support for her. And also information. The more we learn about brain injury and the impact, and the more the people closest to us know, that too is a form of support and information. We know that people who understand and know more about brain injury tend to do better. It's also the daily activities that you do every day, things in the realm of productivity. So work, volunteering, running a household chores. It's also self-care, and that can be real basic things like getting up, getting washed, and getting dressed. It can also be things like doing your home exercise program and pacing out activities, breathing, and leisure. Engaging in something that's meaningful, that brings you joy, is a real source of support. And it can be physical things, the buildings that we live and work and play in. Are they accessible? Are they safe? Technology. It can be a smartwatch or a phone or the digital home assistant, Alexa, Google. I had a client once tell me that Google saved his marriage because he could ask Google 50 times what the weather was in a day, and he didn't have to bug his wife. It's also tools, and that can be real concrete things like a calendar that you have on the wall. It might be a brace that you wear or a cane or a walker. Or strategies that you use, and it's also our environment, the streets and roads, but also the natural environment. Being out in nature is a real source of support. And all of these things are forms of support. They're also all influenced by each other. And again, some of them can be long-term supports that we use forever, and some are more intermittent where we reach out as needed. So how do you actually create a support network? First of all, you need to identify what your needs or your goals are. What is it that you're looking for? What's missing? What is that? And you need to prioritize and maybe pick one to start with. Reach out and explore. Pack your curiosity. I liked how Francine put she had an investigative mindset. What would happen if I, went on this website or reached out to this person or attended this event? And it's not enough just to identify your needs, you have to communicate them, you have to ask for help, which can be hard to do. It requires us to be a little bit vulnerable and maybe also on some level accept what's happened. And it may be that you need to reach out to a support to actually figure out what your goals and needs are. So reaching out to buy-ins or March of Dimes or an occupational therapist, a social worker, a recreation therapist, they can help you even figure out what your needs are. I'm going to bring you back to Psych 101 or high school psychology and talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Hopefully this is somewhat familiar to people. but it's the idea that these are all of our basic human needs. Some of them are real basic at the bottom of the foundation, things like food, shelter, water, security. Those are real fundamental basic needs. And if you have unmet needs in that area, then you're probably looking for more practical supports. And then they also to note that the need for connection, friendship is also right smack in the middle of that pyramid. It's still a pretty basic human need. And then, the need for creativity and dignity and self-esteem. It's really hard to be creative if you're worried if you're going to make rent next month or if you have enough food. So you've got to meet those needs first. And if you're looking for, or if you have unmet needs in more of those social esteem areas, you're looking for more emotional social supports. So thinking of your needs in this way can help you prioritize and figure out where to start. So where do you go to find support? Obviously, friends, family, loved ones, people closest to you, your peers, other survivors, other people who have been through something similar. And there's tons of research in all kinds of different domains, not just brain injury, that peer support is really valuable. And what we hear time and again, because so much of brain injury is invisible, is that's where people feel seen and heard and valued, is in a room like this. You can go to publicly funded healthcare services like Nova Scotia Health if you're in Nova Scotia. If you're fortunate to have insurance coverage, you may be able to access private services. There's also tons of different community organizations out there. Municipal, provincial, and national government resources exist. There's interest-based groups. Maybe there's a writer's circle or a bridge club, something like that. And of course, brain injury and stroke organizations. And I've started the peers and the brain injury and stroke support organizations because I'm going to talk about those in some detail, and they're super valuable after brain injury. And it can often just take one connection to create a network. And I've tried to illustrate this in this diagram. So imagine this is someone who had their stroke maybe 9 months ago. They were in hospital, then they went to rehab for a few weeks, and then they went home and they were followed by outpatient therapies for say 3 to 4 months. Now they've been home 6 months, they've completed their formal therapies. They want to keep the momentum going. They want to stay physically active, maybe get a little bit more active. Their family doctor recently retired. They have questions about their blood pressure medication, and they really don't know where to go, and they're feeling a little isolated, and they have room now in their life to do something else because they're not participating in active therapy. And they remember a flyer they got from the Brain Injury Association of Nova Scotia from one of their therapists, and they reach out and they book a meeting with the community navigator. And Marley, who's their community navigator, sits down with them and they talk about what the issues are. I want to be more active. I'm feeling a little isolated. My family doctor retired and I have questions about my blood pressure. And so she helps them make 3 connections. So she talks to them, suggests that they attend the online Buy-ins coffee chat that happens every Friday morning. And they go to that, and in that group, they hear from other participants about the Buy-ins online yoga. So they start attending that. And in that group, they hear about a massage therapist that they've started seeing. Also in the coffee chat, they hear about the in-person walk and talk that Buy-ins has. And so they decide to go to that because that meets their goal of being more active. And from other participants in that group, they get a recommendation about a comfortable pair of walking shoes. And they also discuss low-cost, heart-healthy food options. Back to the Buy-ins connection, the navigator supports them in making an appointment with their community pharmacy primary care clinic, and they exist in towns all over Nova Scotia for a complex medication review. So they go to their local pharmacist, then have a one-on-one meeting for an hour. They bring in all their medications from home, prescription, over-the-counter, and homeopathic remedies. The pharmacist makes some adjustments to their blood pressure medication and can also follow them long-term on that issue. So now they've met one of the gaps in their healthcare. And the Buy-ins navigator also refers them to the March of Dimes After Stroke program. And they meet with their stroke coordinator and they connect them to the virtual exercise program and also their local stroke club that meets in person. So you can see from one reach out, they now have a bit of a network. They have things that they're doing regularly. They've gotten some practical information and they have one of their basic health needs met. They also get to share some information. So in the walk and talk, they share about a physio that they had a good experience with. So I'm going to talk now about specifically the brain injury and stroke resources that are available, and I broke them down into resources that are national and then local here in Nova Scotia. So the Heart and Stroke Canada is a Canadian organization. They are a wealth of information and they lead best practice. So they are the organization that establishes the Canadian best practice recommendations, which as a clinician, it's the standard of care they set for stroke care in Canada, and all healthcare organizations follow that. But they also have really great resources for folks on prevention, intervention, healthy living, and they also have a community survivor peer support group. March of Dimes Canada is available across Canada, and they have local chapters, I'm going to call it, but their after stroke program, they offer personalized support, programming for exercise, communication, mental health promotion, and they can also connect you to local resources in your community. And then Brain Injury Canada is a national organization, really strong resources in education and learning, and also advocacy for brain injury on a national level. So at the end, I have a slide with the actual web links to all of these resources. Here in Nova Scotia, we have Brain Injury Association of Nova Scotia, and I want to pause here and thank BIANS and March of Dimes for hosting this wonderful event today. And the Brain Injury Association, their website's awesome. They have tons of information on all things related to brain injury, and they also run a lot of survivor programs. And I think they have 12, and 8 of them are available online. So they're available across the province on things like peer support, movement, walking, family support, music therapy, art, and they're changing their programming all the time. Nova Scotia Health, which is the organization I work for, our brain injury program also offers a variety of services. So we have inpatient, outpatient, community, and also based services. And if you want to know more, if you go to the Nova Scotia Health website and on their search bar put in ABI, go to the homepage, you'll see all of our programs. There's the referral criteria, referral forms, who can refer and how to do it. So you can actually do that yourself. Peter's Place is a rehabilitation program here in Nova Scotia. They have 2 residential programs. They also have a drop-in center in Dartmouth that offers all kinds of leisure engagement programming, and it's also available online, so it's accessible provincially. And then there also are numerous stroke clubs in Nova Scotia. So here in Metro, there's a stroke club in Halifax, Dartmouth, Bedford, and Truro, and there's also one in the Valley. And I think I've heard rumors that they're trying to start one up in Cape Breton. Okay. The other point I want to make is all of these resources are also open to caregivers and loved ones. They need support too. And all of these things are accessible and available. I know I talked a lot about needs, and I apologize for how busy this slide is, but I thought it might be helpful to sort of have a list of what possible needs might be and then where to actually go to for help. So if you have questions around medical care, managing diabetes, blood pressure, you have pain, stroke or brain injury symptoms, if you're lucky enough to have a family doctor or nurse practitioner, maybe you're followed by a physiatrist or neurologist. But you're a local pharmacist. The primary care clinics can follow people for a lot of chronic diseases. If you're looking for help in the area of movement, balance, coordination, you're wondering, do I still need this cane? Do I need a cane? That would be physiotherapy, maybe occupational therapy, but also osteopath, chiropractor, massage therapist, community programs in your recreation centers, the March of Dimes After Stroke program. Issues around memory, organization, thinking, concentration. That might be an occupational therapist to help you learn some strategies there. Maybe psychology or neuropsychology. A neuropsychologist would do an in-depth assessment of your strengths and weaknesses so you can use your strengths to compensate. If it's around coping or low mood, then it might be social work or a counselor. For home accessibility issues or home care needs, again, occupational therapy or home care. It's CCS or Continuing Care Nova Scotia is how you access home care here in Nova Scotia. For meaningful activity and leisure, recreation therapy, which is available in a number of places. Your municipal recreation center. Community groups, the Brain Injury Association of Nova Scotia, the stroke clubs, other interest groups. For vision, it would be an optometrist or an ophthalmologist. You do need a referral to see an ophthalmologist, but you can get those. Around transportation and driving, which is often an issue, again, going to your primary healthcare provider, if you're looking at getting back into driving, there's certain minimum requirements you need to meet. There's also a specialized driver evaluation program through the Nova Scotia Rehab Center and also in Cape Breton, but checking out if there's any accessible transit options in your community. For financial support, again, social workers are really good at connecting people and making sure you're accessing all of the resources that you're eligible for. But maybe even meeting with a financial planner at your own local bank. They can often help out. Going to community services. For fatigue and sleep issues, which again are often really common, again, your primary healthcare provider, but occupational therapy, physiotherapy, we can help with those kinds of issues. And then for food and nutrition, dietitians and local food banks. This is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. If you really don't know where to go, 211 is a really fantastic resource. It's available in every community across Canada, and we will talk to or text with a local community navigator who can connect you to nonprofit resources that are out there, government, and healthcare organizations. So it's a really good place to start. I found this graphic on the 211 Nova Scotia website. You know, which 11 number do I call for what? If it's an emergency, it's 911. So medical emergency, if you are at risk for harming yourself or someone else or someone you're with is at risk for that, 911. 211 is the number for local community organizations. So for example, in Halifax, the Ability in Motion program, or AIM, that's run by the YWCA and YMCA, they would tell you about that if you call them or asking for physical exercise programs. 311 is also available in a lot of communities across Canada. Here in Nova Scotia, it works in the Halifax Regional Municipality and Cape Breton Regional Municipality, and that can connect you to town or city resources. So here in Halifax, there is a snow clearing program for eligible seniors and folks with disabilities. That's how you find out about that program. 211 would also work. And then 811 is the number to call when you're looking for more general health information or you want to talk to a nurse practitioner. Example of that, my husband scratched his head on a nail sticking out of the roof and we didn't know if we needed a tetanus shot or not. That was an 811 call, okay? I'd be remiss if I didn't share crisis supports, because when you're in crisis and you need help right away, where do you go? 911. If when in doubt, that's the number to dial. There's also 988, which is the National Suicide Crisis Helpline. It's staffed 24/7 with trained professionals. I put the kids helpline on here because it's open to people up to age 29, which I'm really happy to hear that 29 is still a kid. But you can call or text that number. And again, you get a trained person on the other end of the phone when you need someone. And here in Nova Scotia, there's also the 188 Mental Health and Addictions Crisis Line. It might be a good idea to post these numbers by your phone at home, because when you're in crisis, you're sometimes not thinking clearly. I know a lot of people don't have a landline anymore, so maybe programming these numbers into your cell phone. And if you put it in contact under A, help, then it comes up first in that alphabetical list and you're more likely to see it. Okay. Just some practical tips around creating a network. So you need to identify one goal. That's all it takes. You might need to break that down into steps. Again, be curious and open. Use that investigative mindset. What would happen if I tried this, or how would I feel? Just start with one connection. And another really good thing to do is to keep a record, especially if you have trouble with your memory, but for anyone, just keep a record of who you contacted, when that was, what information you received, what did you participate in, what service did you access, and what you learned and how it made you feel. Sometimes the connection is about timing. You may reach out and it's not quite the right time for that, but maybe 3 months down the road it is. If you've written it all down, then you have it to refer to. It also means you could share it with other people if you find it helpful. There's something else I was going to say and I lost it. Okay. So just for some takeaways, know that success is what you want it to be. And again, I invite you to think of success as living with brain injury. Reach out and ask for support. Develop a variety of supports. Again, really make it a point to connect with brain injury and stroke specific resources and peers. Friends and family play an important role and they can access all of these supports as well. And also, don't forget about those informal community interest-based groups and services that are out there, because they are also really valuable. It just takes one connection to start to create that network. Keep a record. You might want to have a separate notebook that's just about resources. And also know that your needs and your support network will change over time, and that's as it should be. Okay, and know that you are not alone. I think Francine said that a number of times in her talk as well. And I'll just leave you with this quote from Helen Keller, which is, "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much." Thank you. I think we have time for questions.
Any questions for Lynn?
Brain injury survivors went, sorry, I'll hold this. Or if you want to, okay. When you first had an injury, you're at sea. And resources that I'd just like to, the practical tips are great and the takeaways are great, but when a person's had a brain, there was no rehab when I had mine decades and decades ago. So even today, there needs to be resources that once a person's had an injury, the people around them, and the person earlier made mention, it's so important to have people around you that are supportive and can direct you to the resources. But your comments, practical tips are invaluable to a survivor.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Another tall person from I'm just wondering, I'm coming on to my 10th anniversary of my fall that I got my brain injury, and I'm noticing some degrading of some of my things, and I'm trying to keep those where I've made gains. I'm trying to keep those gains, and I'm just wondering if a lot of the resources and that are still available for somebody that's quite a long period from their original, because sometimes I've called places and they will say, oh, if you're a year or 2 years out, yes, we can help you, but if you're that far out, no, we can't. So I'm just wondering, just from that point of view, any advice that you have, or if you're aware of that?
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, the Brain Injury Association, March of Dimes, there are services. There is no real time limit, and if you're noticing changes, then reach out, and that's where you need to communicate there's been a change, right? It's not just that I'm 10 years out, it's I'm 10 years out, but these things have changed. And we all age, we all have other health conditions that come up. We know that those things also impact brain injury because our reserve is down. So it may flare our brain injury symptoms, things that we had kind of sorted, may get worse if we develop other conditions. Right, so you need to sort of brush off some of those basics and reach out. Yep. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Any last questions for Lynn?
Great.
Okay,
Well,
thank you, everyone.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lynn. That was a great presentation. And I think I'm hopefully right in saying that people in the room, I expect, got a lot out of that in terms of that jigsaw or that neighborhood of supports that kind of we can all build. Lynn is also sticking around this afternoon, is going to be part of our schedule of demonstrations after lunch. So more still to come from her. I'd like to now invite our panelists to come on up and make their way to the table over here, just while I do introductions. So next, I'd like to introduce Marley Smith, who will be moderating the Lived Experience panel on the theme of Building Your Support Network. Marley has been with the Brain Injury Association of Nova Scotia since September 2021. With her background in social work, Marley has been supporting brain injury survivors through peer support and resource programs. So let's give Marley a warm welcome, as well as our panelists. And I'll pass over to Marley to introduce everybody who's joining us on the Lived Experience panel this morning.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're just getting settled here, so just bear with us. I'm really happy to be here today with some of our lived experience panelists. Well, come on in, Giselle. I would invite you, maybe if you want to move your chair to where you can see, you're welcome to move wherever you're comfortable. Oh, and we're on the screen. Yeah, so thanks everyone for being here today. I'm going to start off by introducing, and thank you, Emma, for that introduction, introducing our panelists. Excuse me. I'm going to just go in order here. So we have Giselle. Did you want to share a few words about yourself?
Hi, my name is Giselle. I had my most recent concussion from a car accident in 2023, and that was my 16th diagnosed concussion. I am living with post-concussion syndrome now and just trying to navigate life with that on top of the physical injuries that I got from the accident as well. So yeah, I guess that's basically me in a nutshell.
Hi, my name is Wendy, and I'm a retired teacher before my event. My stroke was about a year and a half ago, and and I'm navigating the new life that you experience after a stroke and how everything changes.
Hi, my name is Stephen Scarf. I'm 39 years old. I'm from Bedford, Nova Scotia. In 2008, I suffered a ischemic stroke, and it's been 17 years out, and I've made a lot of recovery since then. Very remarkable, actually. The outlook was not positive at first, but I've made a wonderful recovery, and I've even returned to work.
Yes, give them all a really welcoming acknowledgement. That's really wonderful to have you all here today. We really appreciate your input. And we're really going to stick with the theme today of what we've already heard and just really talk with one another about their personal experiences with those pieces. So I'm wondering if we can maybe go down the line, or whoever feels called to answer the question first. But can you share a bit about your recovery journey and what connection has meant to you along the way? Does anyone want to kick us off with that question? Wendy?
So before my stroke, I was somebody who valued connection. And because sometimes having had a stroke, it isn't visible to other people, since having the stroke, I found it even more valuable to be connected with people who have experienced the same type of thing, given that everybody's is different. So I belong to the Dartmouth Stroke Club, which is a wonderful group of people. And in just being there and knowing that you're expected to come every week, sometimes when you don't feel like going, then it's that piece where you know that you want to go and you want to be with those people. That piece of being with other people can't be downplayed. It's so vitally important to any recovery being able to ask questions, but even just be surrounded by other people that have the same lived experience. And yeah.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first part of the question?
Absolutely. Can you share a bit about your recovery journey and what connection has meant to you along the way?
So, recovery has definitely been a roller coaster, just ups and downs. I'm sure a lot of people here have had similar experience as well with trying to find different health practitioners that can actually help you out and have the knowledge to kind of direct you in the right direction. And connection, the people that I've met throughout the journey from my last accident has really helped me kind of navigate who I can reach out to, specifically through the Brain Injury Association of Nova Scotia. I've really gotten a lot of help that way. I remember I've gone through several different physios now, and I think the second person I was working with, I remember her saying that connection, there's 3 different things that really matters, and one of them was connection to yourself and to other people. And I think I really sat on the self part, because I think we all kind of go through a denial phase, or like, as Francine was saying earlier, that we compare our before and after whatever incident situation we're going through. And it was so hard for me to just accept that there's a new me that I have to live with. And so I kind of dissociated myself from my feelings and what I was going through. And I think it was just connecting to how I actually feel and accepting the fact that it's very real was really helpful. And then on the other side of that was connecting with other people. It's gonna be a really lonely journey. So yeah, it's just really nice to have a very supportive group of people who can relate and help out.
Thank you. That's excellent. Yeah, I'm hearing that, there's a lot of trial and error in the healing journey and making those connections. You have to find the connections that are right for you. So yeah, that's a journey, right? And reconnecting with yourself. I think that's a really important piece too. Steve, did you have anything to add about your recovery journey and what connection means to you?
I think at the end of the day, is this on? Yeah. Okay. At the end of the day, it comes down to family and friends, and you need that connection with them to help support you and guide you along your journey.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important to note that you can always make new friends and new connections. Find those groups, the stroke clubs, the peer support groups, people who understand what you're going through and can help you with battling isolation or the feelings that, the many emotions and feelings that arise along your recovery journey. So thank you for sharing. I'm just going to move on to the next question. Was there a time when connection with someone made a real difference in your healing? So maybe an example of a time where connection really helped you in your healing.
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to family and friends. Prior to my stroke, I thought I had some very good friends. Unfortunately, when the stroke happened, many of my friends left me, but I did have a few friends that stood by my side, and they made accommodations to some of the challenges that I have. So I think family and friends at the end of the day they're all that you have, and they will be there to support you through thick and thin.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm very fortunate to be supported by two family members that just right from the get-go were even informed that I'd had a stroke before they started using the word stroke with me. And this idea of having to redefine your life, because it's not like something that you get over, like a cold or chicken pox or anything like that. It's, you know what, this is the new you. And moving forward with family support, if you're lucky enough to have that, it's so valuable. But then if you don't have that, or if you do, making friends, and through March of Dimes, the stroke support groups have been wonderful. And sometimes you have questions about something that you're experiencing, and the doctors and the professionals say, no, that's not an issue, or you know, move on from there. And then you go to a group and everybody says, oh yeah, that's part of this. And it's very reassuring and calming, because after a brain injury, it's very easy to start spinning about what you're worried about. And I think that for me, the idea of having people near me to help me stop spinning has been vital.
Absolutely. Thank you. Giselle?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, with the whole concept of just connecting with people and being able to keep yourself grounded basically throughout the whole situation, because it's your support system. But like outside of like mental health side of things as well, like for instance, just going back to what I was talking about, like professional help. Like I was having vision problems, like really bad vision problems, and I went to an optometrist, and to them everything was okay. But I knew that something was not wrong, like something was wrong. My depth perception was off, and all of these, and you know, a professional who doesn't deal with concussions won't know all of that, but having connections through like Brain Matters or the music therapy group from Bayans, I'm able to, I was able to, you know, learn about this vision doctor who specializes in concussions might be able to help you, and just like making those little steps that help out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like Lynn mentioned in her presentation, that sometimes that's where the best information is shared. You guys become the experts of your own lives, and in those peer groups, you can then pass that knowledge onto your other peers, right? It's all about building those connections. Absolutely. Just moving on to the next question here. If you could maybe share what friends, family, or professionals can do to help build genuine trust and connection with someone living with an ABI. Do we have any thoughts on that? It's question number, the second from the bottom. I'm jumping around on you.
I think at the end of the day, community outreach programs are very important. I actually joined a program run by the YMCA called Abilities in Motion, and I believe one of the speakers talked about that earlier. So I think that's very important, to interact with those who are basically in the same boat as you, to share experiences and stories, and to build trust with.
Thank you. Yeah, Wendy, what can friends, family, or professionals do to help build genuine trust and connection with someone living with an ABI?
So right from the beginning, they say stroke, and my family said, okay, now what? And there are resources, but in the hospital, I think it can start from there. Because sometimes the answers to those questions that you have about, okay, what's going to happen now? Those connections aren't necessarily there. And this idea of trust, it's about trusting where I'm heading and trusting how I'm going to get there. And for me, I still am not driving, and I rely on people to help me with transportation. And I'll tell you that somebody mentioned in Nova Scotia being able to go for the driver's program and to be recertified. Currently, there's nobody in that position in Nova Scotia. The waiting list has hundreds of people on it to be retested. And, you know, if somebody is out there thinking, oh, that might be something I'm going to get involved with, well, guess what? There's a long list, and you know, it's not going to happen right now. You say, oh, okay, so at least your expectations can be where you are. And so that sense of trust, March of Dimes, brain injury, all the people who are here today, they help you with that feeling like you're going to be okay. You know, other people have been here, you're not on your own, and you can move forward. And attending symposiums like this are very good with the sharing of information and sharing of compassion and the people energy. And that's that sense of trust.
Absolutely.
Just one more quick comment I wanted to add is I think you need to have professionals look beyond the physical appearance of someone with an ABI and look into the inside and say, okay, they walk with a limp or they use a cane, but they're much different on the inside. So that is a big issue, I think, is walk a day in my shoes and see what it's like, and you'll know it's not easy. But I'm a very different person on the inside than what I look like on the outside.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm sorry to ask this again, but can you repeat the question?
No, of course. What can friends, family, or professionals do to help build genuine trust and connection with someone living with an ABI?
I think that just being there by your side to support or try to understand what someone, whoever that person is, really makes a huge difference. Trying to rephrase statements like, again, the presentation from Francine. I'm really sorry.
No, take your time.
Don't remember what I was saying.
That's okay. If it comes back to you, you just let me know, okay? Yeah. But no, I think that's a great point, Giselle, that our friends and families and professionals, they can all just be there and listen and believe what survivors are saying. I think events like today's event are really important. It's welcome to everybody, right? You can hear and learn and create connections as well. So those are all ways that we can support ABI survivors. I'm wondering what advice you would give to someone who's feeling isolated in their recovery right now. Do we have any thoughts on that?
I think they should reach out to their doctor, or in my case, I reached out to my physiatrist and looked for community outreach programs. I know Bayans runs one. They have bowl-a-thons in the year and other monthly events. including a Christmas party. And I think reaching out to your medical professionals will give you advice on what programs you could reach out to or join.
So anybody with a brain injury, first thing I'd say is write it down, video it, or record it some way, because you're not going to remember it. And the supportive people in the room all know, yep, we need to tell this person these things over and over again, and that's okay. It's not just my 59-year-old brain, it's my stroke brain and all of those things. And I guess in terms of advice, and thinking that we started at ground zero with knowing about this, and now all of a sudden we see the commercials on TV about stroke injury and brain injury, and it's something that we need to have more information about as a society. And so I thank the media pieces for making that information be out there. But the piece is you have to advocate for yourself, and the people around you have to advocate and get used to the new normal, because they're not going to get over this, and celebrate that you're here and you are important. And there's just so much that's amazing about listening to the rain and being with supportive people and living and being awesome.
Yes.
Very important point about advocate. At the end of the day, advocacy is very important. You have to advocate for yourself. No one else will do that for you. So you have to fight. You have to do whatever you can to achieve your goals or reach some milestones. So advocacy is very important.
Isolation. Okay, so
Yeah, so just any advice you might have for anyone who's living with a brain injury right now, who is feeling very isolated, what would you tell them?
I think first and foremost, it's okay to accept that you're feeling that way. I think that's really what the first step is. And then just know that you're not alone. You know, there's so many people that are going through this and are feeling the same way. And whenever you are ready, it's important to reach out to somebody. Maybe it's a friend or family member. Maybe it's an organization that you can join in and be a part of, just like they were talking about there earlier. But just know that it's normal. It's a part of your recovery. It's a change. This whole thing is a huge change in your life, and it's okay to feel isolated. But at some point, it's important to reach out whenever you feel ready.
Thank you. Yeah, those are some really excellent points. And I would just like to add too, that it's okay if you're not ready, right? It takes time. It's a journey. A lot of people that I work with weekly, they say, you have no idea how long it took me to get to this group. I've known about it, but I either wasn't ready or, I forgot about the date and time, or, it is a journey, and it's important for that consistency piece. So, for example, we, at our Brain Injury Association of Nova Scotia, we try to keep our programs consistent dates and times so that people know that they're there, and when they are ready, it's going to be at the same place and they know where to go. So yeah, it's just a matter of when you're ready. That's a good point. I wonder if you can maybe touch on a little bit more about how relationships or community have played a role in your resilience?
This one I know quite well. There's a stroke survivor that I know in the room whose daughter started a stroke recovery support group last year. And we gather once a month. And this is where we would share stories and experiences about our stroke and do activities together. And just gathering around to do those types of things means a lot because we've all gone through different types of experiences and strokes. And so it's very different, but for us to gather once a month really gives us some support for each other.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, no problem. How have relationships or community played a role in your resilience?
They've definitely played a major role. Just honestly, just for my mental health in general. But also just being able to look forward to something other than the recovery part of this journey. As someone who was very active before and was very social, it really took a toll on me just being stuck at home all by myself, and not being able to move around and whatnot. And it was really helpful to just have to kind of realize who the real folk, the people, the real friends are, I guess. I think Steve touched on being kind of left behind. A lot of people who we thought are there for us or our friends before our accidents, and it kind of switches our social circle after whatever situation we went through. And being able to see who are actually there for me and being able to establish deeper connections with those people because of what I've been through and because of the fact that they're still there for me. I think in a way it strengthens my relationship with them.
Absolutely. I would just like to add on to that, actually. I think it's really, really nice to see that in these support groups, people build those connections and it goes beyond our meeting times. So oftentimes, if we don't see someone at a meeting for, an extended period of time, we say to ourselves, oh, we have to check in on that person. Or, you've built friendships with those people. So maybe you go for lunch with them outside of our meeting times, or you offer a ride to someone who isn't able to drive anymore. So those connections can go beyond our peer support group scheduled meeting times. I think that's so important.
I just wanted to add to what you were just saying. I think I had a recent surgery and I hadn't seen a couple of folks from the meeting, and there's just people who are just asking about the surgery and how I was feeling, and they were just telling me that they've been thinking about me, and it's like, oh man, I'm sorry.
It's important. It's emotional. Yeah.
I don't really think about the fact that there's other people that care. I am sorry.
No.
But
Yes.
thank you. But just little things like that, you don't really think about, I remember just after the surgery, I was in so much pain and I'm just like, sucks. but it's like there's this whole group of people who give a crap and you don't even really realize it. So just, I'm gonna go back to just when you feel like you're isolated, just know that you're not alone. Like it's gonna get better. It may take a long time, and it may never be the 100% that it was before, but just keep going.
So on that note of longevity, and there was someone in the audience who said that they're 10 years into their adventure. There's an online group that I participate in, and I've met somebody who is 7 years on the path, and we happen to have had the same incident that caused our strokes. And she said, hey, guess what? You're going to be able to do things 2 days in a row in a few years. That's absolutely in your path, because right now, like being here today, I'm going to go home and I'm staying for the morning. I'm going to go home, and this exhaustion issue is real. And my occupational therapist said that I'm kind of like an Energizer bunny, that I kind of go, go, go. And I used to, in my life, just go, 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 and go, 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 and go, go, go. And now I go, 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 and then the batteries come out. And then I'm stopped. And I have to, this is so huge for me, and I have to keep hearing it, that this is what it is, and it's okay, and honor that. I'm so fortunate that I was already retired, that part of my adventure didn't have to. I didn't feel that stress and pressure, but that total change is really hard to accept. And for me, meeting other people and having that connection to other people who are doing okay, and things are going the way they want and setting realistic expectations, but it's about learning from other people and being okay with your okay.
Absolutely. And I think those people are good in offering reminders too. Because sometimes we know these pieces of information, but when you're stuck in feeling like, oh, I'm so exhausted, or I'm in pain, or you kind of dwell on those feelings. So to have those people in your life that can be a positive reminder is really special and important. Yeah. I'm wondering if we could offer to the room if there's any questions or anything that they would like to ask the panel about their experience. We would love to hear from you. Tough crowd, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to know if benefited from
Yeah, does anyone want to touch on that a little bit more? I know Steve mentioned a little bit about that.
Yes, you certainly realize who your true friends are. After the stroke, I had some friends who would visit, or they would just sort of disappear. And it just goes to show you at the end of the day who your true friends are. So right now at this point, I'm 17 years out. Really, there's only a few close friends that have stuck by me for that period of time. And those are the ones that you can count on in a time of need. That's what I like to say.
I'm really fortunate that the friends that I have here have stuck with me. And we moved from away 4.5 years ago, and I have friends from there, and we do a lot of video chats, and we send birthday cards and that type of thing, but that's very important to me, and my friends know that. But it takes work, and it really does take work, because you're not always in the places where you were. You're not going to be a friend by convenience. I think what I'm hearing, and what's really coming home to me being part of this, is that it's intentional. All of this piece has to be intentional, the connectivity. And I give great credit to my husband, because also part of this stroke adventure is that I lose myself in my own mind sometimes, and I lose my train of thought, and I forget things, and sometimes I argue about the things that I forget. And, you know, it's just the new normal, and it's accepting that.
100%. But also, I still find myself saying real friends and whatnot. But there's the first therapist I was working with after my accident, kind of. Okay, sorry. So before my accident, I was a car mechanic and a musician as well. So kind of as someone who was living in public eye, so to speak, I guess it was hard. It was so hard for me to like distinguish who are my friends and who are my coworkers, who are my fans, who are like, and I always just said everyone in my connection were my friends, you know, and so it was really tough for me to kind of accept the fact that, oh, this person's trying to reach out to me because I need to fix their car. But I can't fix their car because I'm not physically or mentally capable to do that. And then they just leave. And I was getting a lot of those requests, or can you write a song with me? Can you do this meeting? Can you do this gig? And I think when they realize that I'm not capable of delivering what they expect of me, they just leave. And to me, it was so heartbreaking, because it was like, I'm losing all of my friends. But my therapist was like, I want you to sit down and write the names of every single one of these people and go and categorize your friends, your acquaintances, your fans, your coworkers. And I'm starting to write these down, and it's like, not everyone's my friend. So now I have my friend list, and it's like, okay, maybe I'm losing 5 of these people that I actually thought were my friends, but really I'm realizing who were my friends all along. So yes, I think it was natural, and it is natural for us to feel like we're losing friends, we're losing connections, but it's really just making us realize who our friends are.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Do we have any other? Oh, Sarah. They're coming with the microphone. Yeah.
So one of the things, and I recognize around the room and on the panel, that the brain injury often, or the stroke, comes with other issues. And for me, I tried to push through, and I ended up falling down staircases and injuring my legs, and now I have a brace, and so there's multiple things. I would like to ask the panel, because Giselle, you talked about the vision and them not, the medical professionals and so on, not really taking that seriously, that you knew something was off. So what would each of you want professionals, whether it's medical supports, whether it's legal, insurance, and so on, what would you like them to know? What do they need to do more of, or what are they not doing enough of? What would you really like them to hear about what needs to happen around that kind of thing, that the brain injury and the fact that you might have compound issues around that as well? Because that's the other thing sometimes I run into them medically, is they want to deal with just the brain injury or one aspect, but they're not recognizing I now have compounded things, and some of it comes because of the injuries.
I just wished that the health professionals who don't know how to help per se, in the certain or specific scenarios, I just wish that they were able to come forward straight up and say, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to help you, but here are resources. You know, I wish they knew where to find the resources to help direct us instead of saying there's nothing wrong with you. Because it took me a while. I had to go through different physios because they didn't believe I had concussion at first, and then I was with a physio who didn't know how to deal with concussion, so then I got passed to someone else, but then someone else who knew how to help me moved to a different province, so I just kept getting passed around. But oh no. Can you repeat what I was saying? The resources. But there's people who know how to help. It's just trying to find where that is. So if the people who don't know how to help have those resources and can relay it to us, I think that would just be the answer, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that ties into what Francine was talking about having that multidisciplinary approach. Like, not every professional is going to have all the answers, but to know when their scope of practice kind of ends and when to refer elsewhere. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. I'd also like to say that there are other conditions that result as the stroke happened. So maybe you suffer from depression, maybe anxiety, for example, and they need to realize, okay, maybe this person needs to be on this medication or that medication, but there's other conditions that arise from the stroke, and it's not just the physical side.
Excellent. Any other thoughts from the audience?
Can I add something to that? Sorry.
Oh, sure.
I think I remember what I was going for, but I also think that maybe having a case manager or somebody who just ties everything in, especially with brain injury, and if you have compound injuries on top of that, it's like if someone can help oversee things, that would make it so much easier for everybody. And I think insurance kind of helps facilitate that if you are with insurance. I don't know, depending on, I guess it just depends on the situation. I had a case manager for a while, but then after getting cut off insurance, that's gone, and it's like I'm left to deal with everything, to piece everything back together. So if there was a way to just have a case manager to deal with everything as well, that would kind of help get everyone on the same page about all the different complexities of different, I guess, health issues we're dealing with.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. Go ahead, Wendy.
And without getting too political, we have a healthcare people shortage. And I hope that we can move towards a time when there could be somebody who could be that umbrella person. Because the issue with brain injury is that it's different for every single person. And what I wanted was, okay, at 2 weeks, this is going to happen. At 4 weeks, this is going to happen. And going down the road, well, hey, guess what? There's no way that anybody is going to go out on a limb and say that. But it's different for every single person. And so if we were making a wish list, I wish that there would be some way to have somebody who just oversaw things and understood what brain injury meant and what it can mean for so many different people.
Yes, thank you. I think we had one more question, maybe. Yep.
I just wanted to say we're talking about connections today, and one of the big takeaways that I'm coming through is the whole stroke injury and brain injury. And I have a good friend who I met through brain injury, who's had a stroke, and I've learned so much from her and her husband. And it points out different parts in my recovery that I needed to look at a little bit better. But it just brings out a lot of satisfaction, having that joining of the two groups, because we go through a lot. And like Giselle, with your recovery from your injuries, a lot of the things that you're going through, regaining that, is the same as what some of the stroke survivors have gone through, trying to regain their movement and everything. And I just think it's satisfaction. And I just wanted to ask you, with your recoveries and joining in with the different groups that you've been in, what kind of satisfaction have you had? Like, have you had moments where I get such joy from our meetings? It's my favorite day of the week. And I have made such lovely friends. And I just want to hear about your satisfaction with your groups.
I actually had goals and that I wanted to achieve. And one of my goals, even when I was in the hospital, was I want to return to work, because prior to my stroke, I had started working with the province. So even after my stroke, that was a goal of mine to say, hey, I'm going to work hard. There's going to be many challenges I'll have to face, some obstacles. I might not be able to return to the same line of work that I did before, but I'm going to work hard and do whatever I need to do. And that involved such things for me as volunteering, to build up work tolerance, to say, we have to undergo a neuropsych test and go from there. And so my goal really all along, after the stroke, was the ultimate goal was I want to return to work on top of all my physical obstacles.
Satisfaction of the groups, once I've found them, is 1,000,000%. So it's that value of connection. And even there's a person at our stroke group that is responsible for cards. So it's birthday cards, whatever cards. And I got a card at one point and everybody had signed it. And it was just like, wow, that's great. I can't wait to get back there, and going back and just having people say, you know what, we missed you for the while that you weren't here. And that piece, it's so satisfying as a human that even though this has happened, that you can still be part of a really wonderful group of people. So absolutely satisfying.
And celebrated, right? Yeah.
No, I concur with that. It's definitely, it's really important to just have to remain connected with people, and being able to be a part of these wonderful groups has definitely helped me out. There's two that I really try to be a part of. Sorry. And one of them is the music therapy group through Buy-ins. And as a musician, it's just been really, really amazing to still be able to enjoy music and be a part of a music culture, even if it's not a professional setting, just to help my spirits up. And then the other one is the Brain Matters Cafe. Just being able to chat with people and kind of it gives me something to look forward to again, other than going to appointments.
I think Wendy had something to add.
Yeah, I also think it's really important. The three of us up here need that social meet in a group type of setting. Like, it's very satisfying for us, but it's also really important to recognize and validate other people's feelings. And maybe it's a phone call, and I know somebody who just calls someone else who's had a stroke once a week just for a little check-in, because everybody's connectivity needs are different. And so I represent this end of needing to be connected and needing people and that contact around me. There's other people that don't need that type of lots and lots of contact, but they still would appreciate something. There's something about having some human connection, how large or how small. And when you are a caregiver, it's really important that you are recognizing the connectivity that the person wants, and then that's the platform for helping them remain connected. You know, so maybe just a little bit or maybe a lot, but that commonality of a little bit of connectivity, it's a human piece.